Okay, welcome to the Planning Committee, welcome to all the people in the public gallery, and welcome to the councillors. First of all, can I remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live. It goes out via the internet, and then the record is archived for future viewing. So just to let everybody know that things are live in here. And those who are not watching rugby are watching us. Okay then, we'll make a start. Some apologies for absence, that where the clerk is. Thank you.
Yes, Chairman, Vice Chairman, Councillor Mrs Wilkinson and Councillor Powell.
Thank you. Any other? Pam? Oh yes, Councillor Bronwyn Brooks, yeah. Thank you. No other members? Everybody present? Lovely. Okay. To receive declarations of interest under the Council's Code of Conduct, any member wishing to declare an interest, and it's the normal one, Councillor Andrew Parker.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fred. There were two, but the one at Beach Road has been withdrawn. I've got to declare an interest on 2015/000325 full Brooklyn Stable at Peterson Super Ely on page 72.
Okay, are there any others? Yeah, Councillor Mark Wilson.
Yeah, on application 2015-00700 FUL, I am a member of the Town Council Planning Committee and made comments, but I will look at the application with a clean view, with fresh eye, and therefore I'll declare an interest on that matter.
Okay, Councillor Roberts.
Snap.
Councillor Rhiannon Birch. That's two snaps. Okay, Councillor A.C. Williams. Three snaps. There must be more in here from Penarth. Ah, right. Okay then. So we're three snaps. Thanks for that. We've got a reference here, which is agenda item 4, which is the annual report, section 106 agreements, which went before Cabinet on the 21st of September. Marcus?
Nothing to add, Chair.
There you are. We've all read the report. Is any member wanting to speak on those section 106 agreements? No? Okay then. Thank you for that.
Just quickly, just quickly.
Oh, right. Councillor Bird.
It's a bit of a rant, and it's from an email. It's surprising for me, isn't it?
Do you want to put your microphone on, because otherwise people won't hear?
They might not want to. Had an email this afternoon from somebody in Highways saying about this metro bus lane going through on the, what I call the Sully Link Road, top of the Sully Link Road. Now they're going to destruct a cycleway that was built within 12 months ago and redo this. Why is there not joined up thinking on this? They must, you know, they're going to waste a couple £100,000 on that. And I want to know why people aren't talking to each other.
Okay, I'll ask Vicky if she can answer that.
Sorry, Chair, I don't know the detail of that scheme, and whilst there is some Section 106 money going into some of those projects, it's not really something that I'm directly taking a lead on, so I can't answer, and it would have to refer back to Mike Clogg's team, I think.
But it would have been Section 106 money that was spent, I believe, on the pathway going around, past just after the Crem, around the roundabout, because I think it was part of our 106 money that some of it was spent on that.
Yeah.
And now that's all being dug up for a bus lane within 12 months of it going down, and I just don't think it's joined up. Surely they knew about this bus lane some time ago, and it should have been done. And again, I think it's a useless thing anyway. I mean, it's going to get the bus round the roundabout in, well, it might save them 30 seconds perhaps. But I just feel there's no joined up thinking on it.
I wouldn't like to say that. Unfortunately, you know the way funding is allocated. That funding has come from Welsh Government and is being spent in this financial year. There was no indication what funding we'd have had last year. So I'm afraid it's just the way systems work. It's not right, I agree with you, but it is the way systems work in central and local government, that we get allocated funds on a yearly basis. Those funds have got to be spent. There was no indication at the time when we commissioned the works you're talking about, the footpath and the cycleway. There was no indication that would be coming, that money for the metro would be coming forward. It's come forward now, it has to be spent. So yes, it is very unfortunate, but there's not a great deal we can do about it, I'm afraid.
Okay. Councillor Mark Wilson.
On the same sort of matter, I wonder perhaps maybe an answer, because Vicky wasn't too sure about the fullness of that. Perhaps maybe that can be conveyed to all the planning committee members by written.
Can I say that is not a planning matter now? That is a matter that's dealt with by transport, who aren't part of this, or are not part of my team, and would, you know, if you want to address that, you want to address that to Emma Reid and to Miles Punter's section now.
Okay.
So you have to get that.
So you need the answer from a different directorate. Okay, thanks for that. Going on to agenda item 5, which is the report of the Managing Director on site inspection. Is there anything to add, Marcus?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Move we note. Aye, everybody happy? Thank you. 6, building regulations and applications other than building control matters determined by the Director under his delegated powers. Anything to add, Marcus?
Nothing to add, Chair.
Move we note. Yes. Okay, thank you. 7, planning applications again determined by the Director under delegated powers, which is on page 11. Marcus?
Nothing to add, Chair.
There you are. Move we note. Thank you. Appeals, Marcus, on page 24. Anything to add on those?
Nothing to add specifically, Chair, just obviously pleasing to note the figures yet again, and I am aware that beyond this we've had, I think, another 4 decisions which keep the Council's decision going, so that figure will be going up next month.
Okay. Move we note. Happy to note that report. Thank you. Trees, a little lie on the delegated list. Anything to add, Marcus?
Nothing to add, Chair.
No. That's on page 27. Everybody happy? Move we note. Yes, thank you. Okay, 10. We move on to planning applications proper. It's my proposal that we move the site of the former adult training centre in Woodlands Road to the top of that list. Members happy with that? Just to let all those people who are waiting to speak and nervous in the background, they can speak first. Okay. So, would you like to lead us through the report, Marcus?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there is, in this particular case, for the first application, 2015-566, there is a petition that has been submitted late, as a late representation, a 252 signature petition. We have put a sample page in for members to see. This is an application which, although Newith aren't mentioned in the applicants, is on behalf of Newith Housing Association for 30 residential properties, affordable residential properties, located on the site of the former adult training centre, Woodlands Road, Barry. 24 of the units will be 1-bedroom units and 6 will be 2-bedroom units. As part of the scheme, there are 20 parking spaces proposed, and the access to the site will be pretty much adjacent to the existing T-Jenner adult centre next door. If we look at the plans, the scheme that's proposed is largely 2-storey in height, although there is a 3-storey block to one side. The block, which is 3 stories, 11.7 metres high. All other blocks are between 8.7 and 8.8 metres high. The scheme includes an affordable, all affordable housing, so it's all social rented housing, but they have also agreed to the payment of Section 106 contribution with regard to public open space of £68,400 and also £29,955 to enhance existing sustainable transport facilities in the area.
Okay, that's it. First of all, can I introduce the local member, Councillor Ian Johnson, who's going to speak to the committee. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the committee for allowing me to speak tonight. Residents and councillors will know that my interest in this site goes back many years when the council decided it was surplus to requirements and sold the land without consultation with local residents. I'd like to thank DPP Pegasus and Newydd for their willingness to meet residents and myself on more than one occasion during this process. Like everywhere else in the Vale, residents locally recognise the need for social housing and that this is being driven largely by the bedroom tax, which has exacerbated that need. However, they are unhappy with the cumulative impact upon the street of two separate schemes bookending the road, adding 57 flats, 30 of which are here, to the existing 90 houses on Woodlands Road between Tynewydd Road and Court Road. This is evidenced by the 52 objections to the site in particular and a 252 name petition against development, which is part of the late representations. And in fact, even today, I've been receiving telephone calls, emails and Facebook messages from local residents. The major concern that local residents have is with the scale of particularly the three-storey building which fronts on Belmont Street, the large number of one-bedroom flats as part of the site, and the parking issues part of that. In my opinion, the unbroken Belmont Street frontage, aside from issues overlooking 4 Woodlands Road and 334 Gladstone Road, adds an overly built-up effect upon the street scene with its 3 storeys. Whilst recognising the need for one-bed flats, the family nature of the surrounding street and local surplus school places surely lead themselves to a better mix of 2-bed and 1-bed flats rather than the current 4-to-1 ratio, 24 1-bed to 6 2-bed. With regards to parking, the report makes comparison with other social housing sites in Barry which have a 1-to-1 car parking space to housing ratio. This site does not have that ratio, and in fact, using the criteria applied to those sites, this site would be full, and members of the planning committee this morning will have seen that parking spaces locally are at a premium both day and night. I would also like to add, just briefly, I'm not convinced necessarily by the safety impact of proposals to remove the single yellow line from the Woodlands Road side of the development, and ask this is consulted upon at a later date. There has been a significant amount of consultation upon this proposal over several months, and it has been approved. However, I still believe it's not right for many Woodlands Road residents, and I ask the committee to consider and reject these plans in their current format. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we've got, I think it's 2 speakers against, isn't it?
One speaker, Chairman.
1 speaker, is it?
Mr. Bendel,
What about?
and that's the applicant's agent.
Oh, right, okay.
Mr. Bendel first.
So, Mr. Bendel, if you can come forward and take one of the seats at the top. And I know we've got somebody going to speak for the development as well, which is Miss Leanne Lees. Okay. Do you want to sit next to the objector and then you're ready? Okay. Just to let you know that members may ask you for points of clarification after you've finished.
Okay.
I don't know whether that will happen, but that's what the normal procedure is. Okay, you've got 3 minutes, and you can go when you're ready.
Okay, my name's Mike Bendel. I've been residing in Woodlands Road for over 27 years. My main reason for staying in Woodlands Road is the good atmosphere, the friendly neighbourhood, and a great community. I've been speaking to a number of local people. Some have been residing in the area for over 40 years. They're mainly elderly who struggle to understand the planning process and have raised concerns. And one of their main concerns is about who will actually live at the accommodation. And they feel vulnerable, especially the ones right opposite the actual proposed development. As a community, I think we've made it quite clear from the beginning that we're not against social housing occupying this site. We recognise the fact there is a need for it in Barry, but we just want something that's in keeping with the area, that doesn't have a detrimental impact on the community. One of the things that Ian raised was about density and scale. The initial design was for 36 units, and that was considered, I think, as an overdevelopment of the site, and it's been reduced by 6 units to 30. We did ask Newydd to comment on a further reduction because we felt that it was too many units, and they said that if they reduced it further, it wouldn't be commercially viable. So our concern is that the reason why there's so many units, and wouldn't it be better to reduce the number further? We feel as though as a group that we would prefer to see more 2-bedroom units. This would encourage families to move into the area, and if they saw that there was a future for them in the area, they would get more involved and they would value the community they're in, rather than being short-term housing with a high turnover and potential problems. My second main point really is why 3 stories? There's no other 3-story buildings in the area. They're all terraced houses, all of the same build. The previous adult training centre had 3-story attic room, and this had a very small room at the top and had little effect on the community. The proposed building would overlook a significant number of houses and gardens in Gladstone Road from number 334 onwards, and in Woodlands Road from number 4 onwards. I believe, and I think we believe, that this would have an effect on people's privacy and have a significant impact on their lives. What we're asking is, could this development be reduced to 2 stories to fit in with existing residential houses? Point 3 is the distance between the new proposed building and number 4 Woodlands Road.
10 seconds, Mike.
I've got a couple of sentences or so.
Okay.
It's only 14 metres. What we're saying is that it should stay to the 21-metre rule. The original premises was set back by 5 metres. And we do feel, everyone mentions parking as being the main issue, and we're still concerned with parking, because today there was a lot of cars on the road, very few spaces. And we're also very concerned about the accumulative effect of 2 developments at the same time passing through planning and being built probably at the same time, and adding to congestion and adding to making our life more difficult.
Okay, thanks, Mike. I'll let you run on a little bit there, but any member want to raise anything with the objector? Otherwise, I'll hear from the person who's going to speak from the development. Okay, thank you. Would you like to? You've got 3 minutes.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Rhian Lees and I'm a Principal Planner at DPP, acting as an agent for the applicant Pegasus Developments. Firstly, I'm pleased to note the positive officer recommendation and feel this is testament to the collaborative way in which we've approached the scheme from the start. I first met with officers from the Council's Housing and Planning Departments in August 2014 to discuss developing the site for affordable housing in partnership with Newydd Housing Association. The principle was welcomed, given the overwhelming need to address the growing housing waiting list in Barry, particularly for 1- and 2-bedroom properties. Over the following months, the design team worked up a draft scheme, and this was presented to the local ward members, officers from the council and local residents across various meetings and a public exhibition in March this year. The feedback from local residents at the public exhibition largely centred on concerns over the design of the scheme, which at that stage was very contemporary, utilising modern materials and a mono-pitched roof. As a result of the objections raised, the scheme was completely redesigned to reflect the local vernacular along Woodlands Road, pitched slate roofs and red brick terraces. Further concerns were raised over the Belmont Street elevation once the application was under formal consideration and a further design revision was undertaken. I feel this highlights how closely we have listened to local residents' concerns, and whilst I appreciate many of the letters submitted do not support the idea of social housing on the site, I hope residents will feel that their concerns have been considered and acted upon in terms of the design. With regard to parking, the application proposes 20 spaces for 30 units. The parking surveys of existing Newydd developments in Barry that were included within the transport statement demonstrate car ownership levels are significantly lower in affordable housing schemes, and the 20 spaces are considered wholly adequate to serve the development. There is no objection from the Council's Highways Officer on parking or access-related issues, and I do not see how any objection could be sustained. The site is highly sustainable with excellent public transport links and in close proximity to opportunities for retail, employment and leisure. Many of the letters of objection raise concerns over the desirability of future residents and their ability to integrate with the existing community, particularly as they will be predominantly single people or couples. Planning Policy Wales makes it clear that local planning authorities should promote mixed tenure communities that provide a range and mix of housing types. The overriding affordable housing need in the area is for 1- and 2-bedroom properties, not for 3- and 4-bedroom properties. To try and steer the development of the site towards larger properties would not meet this need. If planning consent is forthcoming, once complete, the development will be operated by Newydd. A local lettings policy will be formulated to ensure an appropriate mix of tenants. The local lettings policy will require prospective tenants to meet a number of criteria, including being registered on the Homes for You website, providing references, disclosing any previous convictions, and signing a good neighbour agreement. Newydd also has a robust and transparent complaints procedure in place in the unlikely event that issues arise. Overall, the application proposal seeks to assist in meeting an identified housing need in Barry at a highly sustainable, accessible location. The scheme before you is the result of 14 months of discussion between my client, Newydd Housing Association, the Council's housing and planning teams, and input from local residents. I would urge you to support the officer recommendation and approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes, Councillor Bird. Somebody's on. Anybody left there? Ah, there we are.
Just a quick question. Could I ask the overall height of the proposed compared with the existing building? Do you know, or would somebody be able to tell me, Mark?
I think
Marcus,
Mark has pointed that out on a site visit this afternoon about the height. Yeah, it's okay, Jonathan. Yeah.
The height of the building, the highest part of the building, is 11.7 metres to ridge. The building that was there, we don't actually have the full details. That was demolished some time ago. The terrace that's opposite, I think Andrew looked at it with me, and we were of the opinion it was approximately 10 metres, 10.5 metres to ridge. So it's not substantially higher than existing terrace properties. Yes.
Okay, Councillor Drysdale.
Thank you. Has there been any indication given that there will be a high turnover of residents at this site, as the objector mentioned?
My understanding from Newydd is that these are usually let on a minimum of 12 months. The intention isn't to be housing people for a couple of weeks and then they're moving on. It is a kind of long-term business model that Newydd have with these sorts of developments.
And perhaps it needs a Newydd rep to answer it, but what's the kind of time of residence of people living in similar developments in Barry that Newydd have?
I'm sorry, I think you're right. I think a Newydd representative would help here, but no one was available for some reason.
Okay. Not as it makes any difference, Marcus, does it? No. Any other member? Why we've got the officer here? Jeff.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendations on this, Jim.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you like to come down? Because it's been moved and seconded for approval, but I know that the planning officer has a right to reply.
I haven't got a great deal to add. The one point that was raised, I can't remember who raised it, but I just wanted to really point out the 21 metre rule was raised about windows overlooking. And it is important to note this is over a highway as such, and when that happens, the 21 metre rule disappears because a road is deemed to be a public area, and therefore you're looking over that area. So no, that wouldn't apply in this instance.
Okay. Okay. Well, we might as well go to a vote then, because unless any other member wants to raise anything. No? Okay. It's been moved and seconded for approval. Those in favour, please show. Those against? 2. Thank you. That's clearly carried then.
No abstentions.
Any abstentions? Anybody? No? No abstentions. Thank you. Moving on to the other end of Woodlands Road, and I know there's a speaker against. There's no speaker for, but I'll ask the officer to lead us through that planning application, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes. There are late representations on this application. There are 4 comments. You'll see those attached to your report. I don't intend reading through those. This is a similar application for 27 apartments on a site which was has been overgrown for some time, formerly a park, I believe, but is now very overgrown. This site isn't quite as flat as the previous site, and the applicants, in this case Hendra Housing Association, have proposed 27 apartments. They will be broken down into 18 one-bed apartments and 9 two-bed apartments. There are 3 distinct blocks as part of this application. All blocks are 3-storey in height, although they are slightly lower than the previous application. These are 10.9 metres in height, with an eaves height of 7.7 metres. This scheme proposes 18 parking spaces to accommodate cars associated with the use. It is, again, a scheme which is proposing to provide solely affordable accommodation, but has also agreed to some Section 106 contributions. The contributions in this instance are £61,000, £650 to provide enhanced public open space facilities at Central Park and Gladstone Gardens, and £10,000 to provide one or more of the following: pedestrian footways in the vicinity of the site, contributions towards new enhanced public transport facilities serving the site, cycle routes, and in the vicinity of the site. So they have agreed to some Section 106 contributions as well. The open space contribution obviously is to make up for the slight deficiency, or some of the deficiency in terms of the open space provided within the scheme. But looking at this scheme, it is quite a cleverly designed scheme. There are views through it. It's been broken up into 3 blocks, although they are 3-storey in height. Members who attended the site visit today will have noted that it is a sloping site, and this will work quite well in terms of how it is seen visually from outside. I'd also like to point out that the blocks themselves, and I think if we look at the plan that's on the screen there, will be lower than the adjoining houses in Gladstone Road by some amount, and you can see the adjoining house in Gladstone Road is highlighted at the top of the site there, and you can see the height of the proposed flats next to that, because they are slightly sunken within the site, and so therefore any impact on those properties is greatly reduced. There is very limited impact on the properties below the on the lower part of the site. You can see there the access to the site will be provided adjacent to the last building there, and will be between it and the neighbouring property, which also has a rear lane access. So overall, your officers recommend it to you.
Okay, thank you. I know that the local member wants to speak again. Councillor Johnson, if you'd like to kick off. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you once again for the opportunity to speak on a planning application tonight. I've already expressed residents' concerns about the cumulative effect of building 57 flats in addition to the 90 or so existing housings on Woodlands Road, with 252 residents signing a petition against development and 25 letters of objection. If these plans are given permission, there will be a need for any development on both ends of the streets to be strictly controlled so as not to make local residents' lives a misery. This location is also a former council site that was disposed of without adequate local consultation about future uses. At the time of the sale in February 2012, my predecessor, Councillor Margaret Alexander, wrote she understood that housing was not an option. I've heard the comments from Marcus Goldsworthy about issues of scale and the 3-storied buildings being sunken slightly. I think there is still an issue with regards to Tinowith Road and the scaling there more than there is on Gladstone Road or on Woodlands Road. And we are still in a position where developers are trying to squeeze as much as possible out of a small parcel of land. More specifically, I'm aware that residents have concerns about the development on Gladstone Road and its proximity to the nearest house, 264 Gladstone Road, where certainly it's likely to be very close or fairly close to the building itself there. And there are also concerns I've had expressed recently with regards to the location of the bin store, which I understand will be effectively directly opposite the front door of 82 Woodlands Road, albeit the other side of the access lane. I would be grateful if this could be moved elsewhere in the site if this were to be passed, or some clarification provided from Marcus Goldsworthy about the location of that if it's been moved, and also with regards to the substation where whether that's appropriate where it is or will be moved. The same concerns exist here with regards to car parking as at the other end of Woodlands Road. There will be reduction of on-street parking, which is used by both local residents and town centre shoppers, and the ratio of car parking spaces to residents and visitors is much lower than the comparable figure given for other Newarth sites in central Barry. And as before, it will be full if we use that same criteria. There are also issues of access to Woodlands Road in general, because this will of course be creating a substantial amount of additional traffic in an already busy town centre location. As the entrance to Barry Town Centre, this is an important location, and it's important to get the size and scale of these buildings correct. I therefore ask committee members to seek reductions in the height of the buildings and the number of flats, and otherwise to reject this application. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So we have another objector against, that's Ms Patricia Rafiq. Patricia, if you'd like to go up onto the stand. You have 3 minutes if you want to press the microphone on, and you can begin when you're ready.
Thank you. Patricia Rafiq, a resident of Woodlands Road, speaking on behalf of local residents. The proposed developments will cause no end of problems for residents, and the fact that a petition has been signed by over 250 people shows the level of concern and worry for this proposal. The main concerns are highway safety, congestion and environmental impact. The highway safety aspect, the proposed flats are too close to a very dangerous road junction, and it only needs one large vehicle to be involved in an accident here to cause mass destruction of the buildings and even possibly loss of life. The congestion issues, the issue of traffic congestion is an ongoing problem, as it's a major problem for parking already for local residents. The close proximity to the town centre, together with the fact that we have 2 doctor surgeries, a school on Massacoombe Street, and opticians, a vets and various other things, services on Tynnewydd Road, is going to add to the problem of parking for these people who want to access those services. The additional potential introduction of parking charges now or sometime in the future for Wyndham Street Car Park would also increase the number of people looking for on-street parking. The 27 new flats will only have 18 parking spaces allocated, and given that some of these flats will be 2-bedroomed, this increases the possibility of more than 1 car per household. It cannot be argued that not all residents will have vehicles, as the exact demographic makeup of the residents at any one time cannot be guaranteed. Vulnerable, disabled or elderly residents could possibly have mobility vehicles, and visitors to the flats would also need somewhere to park. There is no scope for this extra traffic, and with the additional dwellings in such a small and already highly congested area. The environmental impact. The proposed development will have a detrimental impact on residential amenities. This is already an overdevelopment, a developed area, and the proposed 3 stories are not in keeping with the existing style and contravene Policy House 8 in a significant number of areas. It would also possibly cause overshadowing and loss of light for some residents. Lastly, if the substation is to be repositioned, it should be sited at the centre of the east boundary, furthest away from all the properties, thereby reducing the impact of its constant humming. Additional housing is a very real concern and needs addressing. We are not opposed to that, but we feel that the proposed site is not appropriate and would be an overdevelopment of the area, sacrificing the quality of life for local residents and potentially endangering the lives of others is far too high a price to pay for proceeding with this development. Thank you for giving me the chance to make these important points, and we urge you to make a decision in the best interests of the local community.
Okay, thank you. You did that in 3 minutes 15 seconds, Patricia. Do you want to answer any questions by any of the members? So if I ask the members if anybody wants to ask any questions. No? You got off lightly. Okay, thank you. It's for the planning officer to come back now. Marcus?
I've got no real comments. I think mentioned was the transformer and the substation and the bin store. Obviously, if we look at the plan, the bin store, I believe, has been located on the bottom corner near the access road, although that plan there doesn't actually show it. That's a cycle store further up. Needless to say, a bin store in the location proposed or suggested on that access there as you go into the site would not be unacceptable. There is actually another lane, a rear lane, between the neighbouring dwelling and that, so I can't see how that would cause any impact on amenity. The transformer itself proposed on the top on Gladstone Road, I suggest has been required by the electricity board to be put in that location. I notice environmental health have been consulted and have raised no objections in terms of noise or humming, so I couldn't really comment on in terms of getting that moved. We would obviously rely on their views in that regard.
Okay. Any member want to speak on the application? Jeff?
Yeah, Chairman, I'm conscious that this is the site of the old Woodlands house that used to be the leisure department of this council at one time.
Right.
And it was demolished, and this adventure park was there, but it was vandalised so badly, it's decided to abandon it. So in effect, it's been an eyesore, an unused piece of land for a very long time. And you could consider it in that context of a brownfield site in the middle of Barry. So given the application is made by Hendra, which is and supported by our housing department in terms of the need for housing, I'm going to move approval, Chairman. Officer's recommendation.
Councillor Bird seconded. Any other member? Councillor Hartree.
I am concerned about the entrance that you're proposing to use, the existing entrance into the site, which I think is far too near to Newith Road, which I know from experience is very busy. I understood from a long life Barrian today that it was a clinic on that site. Was that right, a red brick clinic? Jeff, you'd know. Yeah, I know. I think it's far too near the corner. That is my main concern.
As far from the corner as you can get on that site, then.
No, I didn't think it was.
Oh.
There we are. I'm a woman.
It's on the most stop,
Right.
I think it's slightly overdevelopment, and I will still answer that. Woodlands Road is fairly narrow, and I am concerned about the entrance on there, but and slight overdevelopment. Apart from that,
We did have the highways officer on site this morning who raised no objections with it from the highways department. So, right, okay. Well, obviously, we've had a mover and a seconder, so I'm going to put the officer's recommendation for approval to the committee. Those in favour of approving this application, please show. 15. And those against? 3. I think that's the full committee. So there was no abstentions, was there? No. Okay then, thank you for that. So we'll start back at the beginning of our agenda. Those who want to go, we'll give them a couple of seconds to leave. Okay, thank you for that. This is at the Leckworth Motor Company in Leckworth Road, Landock. It's the first item on the agenda, and it's for 21 dwellings on land north and south of Leckworth Road. Marcus, would you lead us through the report?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is an application on 2 parcels of land which are owned in the same ownership. One parcel of land currently has a garage and car sales showroom on it. The other parcel of land actually is just overgrown and opposite it. The application is for 21 dwellings, as you correctly stated. It is in outline, so the plans you have in front of you here are only indicative. They're not necessarily the complete scheme. The proposals have indicated they are willing to accommodate 40% affordable housing, which would basically be 9 affordable houses, 2 of which would be intermediate housing, and 7 of which would be completely social rented. Obviously, that would be dependent on the outline consent, and the details would be dependent on any outline consent. The scheme has had significant consultations undertaken. There are no objections from highway colleagues, and the scheme is recommended to you in its form.
Okay. Any member?
Can I just quickly point out,
Yeah.
there are late reps on this one. One from a neighbouring resident just expressing some concerns regarding drainage, wildlife and traffic, and one, the comments of the Council's Environmental Health Officer confirming that the conditions proposed as part of the consent are robust enough to deal with the former use of the site as a petrol filling station.
Oh, right. Thank you. Anybody who want to speak on it, or somebody want to move something? Councillor Williams. You're moving approval. Are you a seconder? Yeah. Jeff? Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I quickly come in? One other point on the recommendation. There is, just to point out, a word has been missed, and at point in the contributions for section 106, the third point down is pay a contribution of £988 to provide. It should say £988.50 per dwelling. Just to make that point clear, that makes a difference of either £988 or £20,000, £758. So it's quite an important one to include.
Well spotted, whoever that was. Thank you. Okay, moved and seconded for officer approval. Those in favour, please show. Well, that is unanimous, so thank you for that. And there were no abstentions, if it's unanimous. Okay. Right, moving swiftly on. Let's have a look where we are here. Brookfield Stables off, and the members leaving. Thank you very much for that. Okay, Brookfield Stables in Peterson Super Ely. Yeah, before the officers. Yeah. Thank you. We'll hear from the officer first.
Well, very, very quickly, it is for 4 stables located within a 2.5 hectare field. The key issue here is there has been objections from a neighbouring landowner, but they relate mostly to access, although they are detailed in the report, and you will see there are late representations from that neighbour as well. While the access track, we understand, isn't adopted highway, obviously the matter of access is a matter for those 2 landowners, but the officers are recommending it to you as an acceptable scheme.
Lovely. Thanks for that, Marcus. I've had a mover and a seconder. No, I don't think I've seen a seconder. Seconded by Councillor James then. Okay then. All those members in favour, please show. And that is unanimous again.
Not unanimous. Whoa. I'm not in favour.
You're not?
No. Can we redo it?
Yeah, can we redo it then? Those in favour? Okay. Those against? Okay. Registering 1 objection, no abstentions. Thank you. Would somebody get Andrew back? Oh, thank you.
All these little stable blocks going up everywhere, driving me nuts.
Right.
I just think it makes the countryside look like a what they like, and when you get little sheds coming next to the stables.
Okay, this was subject to a site visit in Lamblethian this morning, so 1 or 2 of us were there. Marcus, would you like to go through it?
Very, very quickly again, Chair, this is an application for extensions to the existing bungalow, extensions to the side of the property, both sides of it, dormer extensions to the front and rear, but one of the key issues is it also includes raising of levels of land at the rear and the erection of a retaining wall to hold the raised level of the land. Key issue here is that what has been built, because this has been commenced, this development, isn't what is being recommended for approval to you tonight. The applicants have amended it, reducing the size of the retaining works down to a maximum of 2 metres in height, and then placing a fence further back, so the raised garden level, there is some privacy for the raised garden level. You will note that they have put, this computer stopped working, if it was working you would note that they have shown various cross sections through the site where it is clear that the wall will not exceed 2 metres in height. Notwithstanding that, you'll also note that this is a strange report in that we are asking for approval of enforcement action as well, should they not comply with the consent, that we can take that enforcement action to require them to do so. I've also suggested amendments to the conditions. Firstly, deleting condition 1, it isn't necessary because the development's been commenced. Secondly, amending condition 3, so not only do we require spot height levels to be submitted within 3 months, but we actually require full engineering details of the retaining wall to prove it is fit for purpose. And finally, with condition 4 now, 5 on your report, within 4 months of the submission, the unauthorised retaining wall, together with the materials backfill, shall be taken down and constructed to accord with the approved plans submitted in discharge of condition 3 above. So essentially, we are authorising here a scheme, but it will require the applicants to take down a large portion of the wall and rebuild it to accord with the scheme, and we are seeking approval for enforcement action if they don't comply with that.
Okay, I know Councillor Parker was speaking about it on site.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would thank the planning officers for the effort that they put into this. Originally, believe it or not, that wall was 3 metres high with a 2 metre fence, so it's maybe half a metre higher than this room. Quite unbelievable in a sensitive site in Cowbridge. I thank Marcus for the additional condition in respect of number 3, which I was going to ask for anyhow, particularly reference to surface water drainage through. We have a footpath there which is not a hard surface, it's a gravel surface, and knowing the amount of surface water that runs down, it could erode the surface, so care needs to be taken on that. And finally, if Marcus could go back to the cross-section slide, as you see, there is a hedge there. At the moment, underneath that hedge, if they didn't remove the rubble, there's about 2 metres of large concrete blocks, which obviously no hedge would be able to grow out of. I would ask that maybe consideration be given to ensure that when all that is removed, that a quality fill is put back in topsoil that would allow that hedge to generate correctly. And I think a specification could be included or related to when they deal with the condition. But on that basis, I move approval, and again, thanks to your officers for dealing with it efficiently.
Oh, moved and seconded. Any member want to raise anything before we go to a vote? It has got the recommendation approve with enforcement action to require the compliance with the consent. So that's what we're actually moving. Councillor Hodges.
Can I just ask, Fred, in the representations, it mentions the belief that the garden has been extended into the public footpath. Is that the case?
I'll ask Marcus, and then perhaps Councillor Parker will.
The footpath section have looked at it, and they don't believe the actual wall has, although they have some concerns about foundations, which they are pursuing separately. That's not a matter for us.
Yeah. Anything to add, Councillor Parker?
Just to say that it's generally a 2 metre wide footpath. I'm content that it is there. Marcus has picked up the point that we pointed out this morning. There are about 6 to 8 sections of foundation which extend between half a metre and maybe 3/4 of a metre onto the footpath. The concern we have on that obviously is erosion of a footpath which is obviously 100 years old or more, but I think that's been well taken care of with the conditions that we've now got.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. Yeah. Thank you for that. Moving swiftly on again. And we've done the 2 Woodlands Road ones.
Just to confirm, Chair, that the Swanbridge Road application has been withdrawn, just so members are aware of that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, just in case we had a site visit out at Swanbridge, but I understand the developer has withdrawn the application, so we won't be discussing it. Oh, right, okay. I think this is another solar farm. I know that I've had a look at it privately. It doesn't look as though it's going to cause any detrimental effect from where I've viewed it from, but I'll let Marcus lead through it.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is an interesting application in as much as it is extremely close to Barry. It's right next to the link road. But actually, when you do visit the site, it's another one of these that's going to be quite hidden from Barry itself. The most prominent place you'll see it from is probably the school, Richard Gwynn School, and possibly from the land sort of to the heading towards Dinas Powys. But we have got montages of that area, and because it crests a hill and actually drops down, it's unlikely you'll even see it from the land coming from Dinas Powys. One key note: we did originally receive an objection from National Rail or the from Railtrack about concerns about glint and glare for the train drivers when they were using the track, which obviously passes right through the middle of the site. But they have been satisfied now that there won't be an issue, and it won't actually be it's not actually going to be visible from the track. So they have withdrawn their objection.
Yes.
Your officers are of the opinion it is acceptable and are recommending it for approval.
Thank you for that, Marcus. And I noticed Dinas Powys Community Council raised no objection. Councillor Bird.
I'd like to move the approval.
Seconded by Councillor Hartree. Any other member? I'll go straight to the vote then. Those in favour, please show.
Unanimous.
It's unanimous again.
Can I just come in very quickly, Chair? We did want to amend condition 12. There was a missing section. I won't read the whole condition out. It's only to ensure that after 25 years, the panels are removed. There was for some reason, the 25 years was missed off the condition. So it's just to ensure that the 20 are removed. So
yeah.
Just to add that in.
Yeah. I think the next one is Unit 6 T Verlin, and I understand that that's been withdrawn. That's the Aldi application.
Yes, this application was withdrawn. You're right, yes.
Yeah, so that's the supermarket one gone as well. But watch this space. I think they'll be back. Yes. This was subject to a site visit today, which is 23 Glebe Street in Penarth, which some members attended, some didn't, and some were late. But could you lead us through it, Marcus?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is an application for the change of use of an existing shop, although it's been vacant for some years, to a residential property. The current applicants purchased the property, I believe, early in this year, although prior to that it had been vacant for at least 2.5 years and had actually been fire damage before that. It has been marketed for some time and no retail users have come forward to use it. Reluctantly, I have to say, but obviously taking account of the fact that it has residential properties on either side which have had previous consents for use for residential purposes, we are recommending approval of the change of use to a 3-bedroom dwelling.
Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate that the officers have acted in good faith here and have gone on the guidance that's there, but it's a question of a strategic rather than a detailed objection. The fact is that Penarth now has quite a thriving town centre, as reflected in the report. But the fact is a thriving centre shows that there's actually a shortage of small, could I call them incubation shops, where businesses want to start. Windsor Road, the main area, is a very expensive rent, so you need some shops. Wales generally, I think, has 15% vacancy on the high street. The Vale of Glamorgan has 8% or less. Penarth has 5%, and I would say that since that was done back in March, it's reduced even further. So there is a great need for retail businesses in Penarth. I appreciate there's houses either side of it that have been converted already, but of that part of the street between Salop Street and Plassey Street, there is in fact still a predominance of shops there. What we actually need is to keep those shops available. I think to say misrepresentation is too strong, but I think there's a certain amount of spin, because if it was trying to be rented, it was being rented with a derelict first floor, no stairs. I understand no toilets either. So there was hardly a great deal of effort being going into marketing it in any case. Now, I think I understand the applicant wants the house for the private use. I appreciate it's not a planning matter, but I recognise people may have their needs. It seems to me what would be a perfect solution would be to have retail premises on the ground floor and allow people living accommodation above. That would achieve it. It would allow Penarth to continue. So I actually think that we should object, not necessarily on the detail, but on the overall. Can I also pass one last comment? The UDP does not list this as retail. That's absolutely true. The trouble is the UDP doesn't list any of Glebe Street, which is probably the second most important area of shopping in Penarth, as retail area. The LDP does. The UDP is now 10 years out of date. Penarth has moved on considerably, and there is a great need for retail units in Penarth. There's a very small vacancy rate. Thank you.
Okay. Any other member who'd like to speak? Anyone who went to the site visit? Any comments? Yes, Councillor Parker.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. Yes, I did visit the site this morning. It is now becoming a predominantly residential area. There were three properties to the north that were residential and one to the south. Although I sympathise with the loss of shops, undoubtedly this scheme puts a derelict building, and in fact you could see the danger from one of the main Bressimers where it had gone, and on that basis I would recommend officers' recommendation.
Well, moved and second. Any other member would like to speak? Val's just put her hand up to second. Okay. That's okay. Anybody want to speak then? No? Should move straight to a vote. Those in favour of the officer's recommendation, please show. There's only 2 against. 15. Yeah, 15 for. Those against? 2 against. 3 against. Sorry, Nick. Any abstentions? No. Okay, that's clearly carried. We've just got one urgent item report, which has been tabled to us for consultation by the Welsh Assembly Government, and Marcus will lead us through it. It's about houses in multiple occupancy, and I don't think we've got too many of those in the Vale.
Very short report. The report does deal with very technical issues about consultations, bringing Welsh Water in as a statutory consultee under the consultation process for planning application. We don't intend making any comments about that as a sensible approach. One area where it does point out, it does bring houses of multiple occupation under planning control, so people's living together in a house of up to 6 will now be subject to planning control. There are still exclusions to that. If they're living as a single household, they don't need planning permission, but it is a useful tool. We are just pointing out to Welsh Government in the consultation that it could lead to an increase in planning numbers, and they should take account of that financially, that it will obviously meet increased workload.
Okay then. Members happy? Shall we take a vote to move and seconder? Move, seconded by Councillor Williams. Okay. All those in favour, please show. Thank you. Any against? No. No abstentions. Clearly carried. Thanks for your forbearance. Thank you. Was it? Ah, excellent.